Self-mastery is one of the most transformative virtues a person can develop. It is not about suppressing feelings or pretending desires do not exist, but about becoming the captain of your own life, steering the ship with firmness even in the middle of storms. Imagine living without being constantly carried away by circumstances or by fleeting impulses. When someone learns to direct the mind, there is no criticism sharp enough or temptation strong enough to defeat them. True power is not the ability to control others, but to govern one's own reactions. In Stoicism, this idea is the core of inner freedom. Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus warned long ago, we cannot control the world, but we can always choose how we respond to it. That perception, which has crossed centuries, is even more vital today, when we are assaulted by distractions, shallow opinions, and relentless pressure. The difference between a prepared person and a lost one lies precisely in the ability to remain calm, centered, and steady when everything around seems to collapse. What we seek is not perfection, but continuous progress, daily discipline, vigilant attention to ourselves. Self-control changes the trajectory of a life. It allows us to refuse what only scatters our focus and to affirm what truly matters. It is the filter that protects the mind from external bombardment and the bridge that leads us to a balanced life. Once this command is gained, we see that the chains that trapped us were never outside, but inside. Breaking those chains is taking the reins of your own destiny instead of drifting with the tide. This is the craft of freedom. In this video, you will discover 8 Stoic lessons to master self-control. Each lesson is a key, a practical tool to strengthen your mind and refine your character. Applied regularly, these principles turn anxiety into serenity, anger into clarity, and impulse into conscious choice. By the end, you will hold in your hands instruments that can change not only your days, but your entire way of being. Before we start, I ask something simple. Leave in the comments the phrase of the day, I practice self-control. Your engagement helps this message reach more people. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. Transformation begins now. Let us move together. The first lesson is the invisible shield, protecting the mind amid the world's disorder. Every day we are bombarded by criticism, opinions, setbacks, and conflicts. Much of our distress comes from allowing these external forces to invade us, provoking anger, fear, or confusion. Stoicism reminds us that facts have no power over us by themselves. It is the interpretation we attach to them that decides how we feel. Epictetus summarized it well: what disturbs men are not events, but their judgments about events. Consider traffic. The jam itself is a neutral fact. Irritation arises from your interpretation of it. If you believe you are being personally wronged, anger follows. If, instead, you accept that it is beyond your control and choose to use the time to listen to music, reflect, or simply breathe, the same event becomes harmless. That is where the invisible shield is born, in the ability to filter, to decide what deserves your mental energy. Building this shield takes practice. Ask yourself, does this truly deserve my energy? Much of the stress that wears us down comes from fighting the uncontrollable or carrying problems that are not ours. Accepting limits and focusing on what is within our power returns freedom. Meditation is a powerful tool to watch thoughts without drowning in them. The Stoic exercise of negative visualization, imagining difficult scenarios before they happen, also prepares the mind to face the unexpected with composure. Another essential point is guarding yourself from the opinions of others. How often do we let external judgment unsettle us? Marcus Aurelius advised, you are under no obligation to have an opinion about everything said. Understanding this frees you from the prison of trying to please everyone. The invisible shield does not isolate you from the world, it protects your peace from what is irrelevant. It is a filter, not a wall. This ability does not appear overnight. It is forged slowly, in the small choices of each day. Breathe, observe, and decide not to react immediately. With time, your mind grows stronger, the outer chaos loses its force, and you discover you have more command than you imagined. The invisible shield is the first weapon of anyone committed to becoming unshakable in life. The second lesson is the power of a pause. We live in an era that rewards speed, instant replies, immediate decisions, impulsive reactions. Yet this haste often lies at the root of conflicts and poor choices. Stoicism teaches us to value a simple and potent gesture, to stop. The pause is the space where emotion recedes and reason speaks. In it we find clarity. Epictetus said, "First learn to govern yourself, and only then seek to guide others." That governance begins the moment we choose to breathe and reflect instead of reacting automatically. Imagine a heated argument. Instinct calls for raised voices, sharp words, and retaliation. But if you suspend your response for a few seconds, the mind has time to reclaim composure. Often, silence or a neutral sentence prevents regret and preserves peace. The pause is also crucial in major decisions. Marcus Aurelius frequently reflected before acting, remembering that choices made in the heat of emotion are the most fragile. An attractive proposal can hide traps, a hurried decision can produce long consequences. To breathe, to reflect, and only then to act is an act of courage, not weakness. Whoever commands the pause commands life. Simple practices strengthen this ability. Conscious breathing calms the nervous system and restores lucidity. Another practical rule: do not make important decisions at the peak of intense emotions. This discipline creates a protective habit of reflection against regrets and rash choices. In a world where most react without thinking, being the person who stops, observes, and acts wisely is an immense advantage. A pause is not the absence of action, it is the presence of awareness. It proves you are not a slave to circumstances but master of your choices. This is the quiet strength that sustains self-control. The third lesson is invisible chains: free yourself from desire. We live in a time when desire is constantly inflamed. Advertising, social networks, and comparison with others create the illusion that we always need more goods, more recognition, more conquest. Yet the relentless pursuit of more easily becomes a prison. Stoicism teaches that wealth lies not in owning everything, but in reducing dependence on what is non-essential. Seneca said, "He who needs little is the richest of all." The issue is not desire itself, but the way we relate to it. Genuine aims can propel growth, but empty cravings enslave. How often have we felt frustration because something we wanted did not occur? And how often, upon obtaining what we pursued, was the satisfaction brief, soon replaced by a new craving? The cycle ends when we learn detachment. Detachment does not mean rejecting the world or abandoning everything, it means appreciating without depending. Techniques such as negative visualization help. Imagining life without certain goods or situations leads us to value them in a healthy, non-obsessive way. Reflecting on how life could still hold meaning even without specific comforts awakens gratitude for what we already possess. It also trains the mind for inevitable losses. Another practice is to distinguish real needs from artificially induced wants. We need nourishment, shelter, health, relationships, and purpose. The rest, though pleasant, is extra. Recognizing this difference brings lightness by removing the pressure of chasing the unattainable. Asking, "Do I want this because it truly serves me, or because I want to impress someone," is a powerful filter against desires that are not our own. Freeing yourself from invisible chains is reclaiming the power to choose. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "Do not be ruled by the desire for external things, find quiet within." When we accept that tranquility depends not on what we hold but on how we think, we reach a freedom that nothing can steal. That is the most enduring wealth, gratitude for what already exists instead of living endlessly unsatisfied. The fourth lesson is sovereign of the self: master emotion before it masters you. Each day we are crossed by potent feelings: anger, fear, anxiety, euphoria. These emotions can be allies, but they can also topple us if we do not learn to govern them. Being sovereign over yourself does not mean ignoring emotions, it means ruling them firmly, like a wise monarch who keeps order in the realm. Anger, for example, can be fuel to face injustice, but when uncontrolled it becomes destruction. Fear can be useful as an alarm, but if exaggerated it paralyzes. The secret lies in noticing the moment an emotion arises. Naming what we feel is powerful. When we recognize this is anger or this is anxiety, we reduce some of its grip on us. Emotions are messengers, not enemies. They reveal something about our values, boundaries, and needs. Anxiety may indicate that something requires preparation. Sadness can invite introspection. Anger can signal that a line has been crossed. The problem emerges when we react without interpreting the message. Listening to the emotion and then choosing the action turns impulsive reaction into conscious response. Breathwork is one of the most effective tools to regain command. Inhale deeply, hold for a few seconds, and exhale slowly to calm the nervous system and restore clarity. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius often noted the importance of returning the mind to the present, and the breath is the simplest gateway to that state. Being sovereign over oneself is an ongoing journey. The aim is not to eliminate emotions, but to use them as instruments for growth. As Seneca wrote, uncontrolled anger harms us more than the injury that provoked it. Responding with calm is strength, not weakness. When you govern your inner life, no outer attack can bring you down. That is the true throne, mastery of yourself. The fifth lesson is control begins in the body. Turn routines into rituals of power. Many seek self-control only in the mind, forgetting that the body is the first field of discipline. Stoicism reminds us that those who do not organize the basics rarely have strength for the great tests. The way you care for yourself each day determines the clarity and vigor with which you face adversity. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, cultivated a disciplined life. He knew that rising early, fulfilling tasks with resolve, and keeping healthy habits were ways of winning small inner battles. These simple gestures send a clear message to the mind: I can direct my life. Confidence grows with each small daily victory. Creating routine is not rigidity, it is reinforcement. Waking at the same time, eating consciously, setting aside time for movement and reflection, these align body and mind. It is not grand achievements that sculpt character, but the sum of small habits practiced consistently. Each positive choice is a brick in the structure of self-control. A neglected body feeds mental dispersion. Chaotic diet, poor sleep, and lack of movement undermine energy and clarity. Conversely, caring for the physical supports the mind, forming a virtuous cycle. Bodily discipline generates emotional stability, and a stable mind reinforces care for the body. It is a continuous exchange. This does not mean slavery to perfection. Plans change and setbacks arrive, and flexibility is part of self-command. What matters is balance, simple habits that become pillars of stability. By turning routines into rituals of power, you lay a solid foundation for a life of clarity, discipline, and purpose. Command of the body is the first step toward command of the mind. The sixth lesson is the art of no. Saying no to the trivial is saying yes to life. Many carry the burden of accepting commitments and duties only to avoid displeasing others. They say yes out of fear of rejection, yet each unexamined consent is a renunciation of one's own priorities. Stoicism reminds us, no resource is more valuable than time, and wasting it is the greatest imprudence. Seneca wrote, nothing truly belongs to us except time, and yet we are lavish in giving it away. Learning to say no is an act of self-care and courage. It is not selfishness but integrity. Saying no to distractions, needless demands, and foreign expectations is saying yes to what truly matters: your values, your health, your energy, your life. Clarity is essential. Those unsure of what they value end up accepting everything as urgent or important. The first step, therefore, is defining what is essential. Ask, does this move me toward my goals or away from them? This filter transforms refusal into alignment with your deepest purposes. How you say no matters. Rudeness is unnecessary. Thank you for thinking of me, but I cannot take this on right now is direct, respectful, and truthful. Such honesty strengthens your relationship with yourself and with others. At first, guilt may appear, but remember, pleasing everyone is impossible. Trying to do so means neglecting your own essence. Saying no is intentional choice. It protects your energy from scattering on the irrelevant and directs it toward what truly builds your life. Over time, this practice yields a simpler, clearer, freer existence. Each conscious no is a yes to what matters most. This is the art of freedom. The seventh lesson is calm under pressure, turn stress into strength. In moments of crisis or heavy demand, it is common to give in to nervousness, act on impulse, or even freeze. Stoicism teaches that calm is not the absence of pressure, it is the ability to face it with clarity. Marcus Aurelius observed, if an external thing causes you distress, the pain is not due to the thing itself but to your estimate of it. Stress is a natural bodily response. It is not an enemy by definition. What decides whether it strengthens or breaks us is the stance we take toward it. A challenge can shatter or shape us, and the difference lies in the posture we choose. If we react impulsively, the problem grows. If we learn to pause, breathe, and reflect, we find wisdom even in the heat of adversity. The dichotomy of control is the central tool here, separating what is within our power from what is not. Tight deadline at work? You control your effort, organization, and attitude. You do not control others' reactions, unforeseen events, or last-minute changes. Directing energy solely to what you can do reduces anxiety and improves effectiveness. Keeping attention in the present is another practice. Stress feeds on past regrets and future projections. The present, however, is bearable. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "Focus on what is at hand, and you will see that this alone is within your capacity to carry." When we center on the moment, pressure lightens and clarity increases. Once again, conscious breathing is a simple and reliable antidote. Stress can be seen as the fire that purifies gold. Faced with calm, it shapes character and strengthens resilience. Turning stress into an ally means viewing every difficulty as training to become stronger. It is not about fleeing pressure, but employing it to your advantage. This ability is one of the most evident signs of self-control. The eighth lesson is the power of choice. Focus on what matters and ignore the rest. Life is built on decisions, from the ordinary to the decisive. Stoicism reminds us that although we cannot control the world, we can always choose our response. Between stimulus and reaction there is a space, and in that space lies our freedom. Many spend energy on what does not matter: negative remarks, uncontrollable problems, fleeting distractions. That drains focus and erodes inner strength. Real power is learning to filter. Ask yourself, does this contribute to my life or merely scatter me? This simple reflection profoundly alters our course of action. Seneca wrote, "No wind is favorable to the sailor who does not know to which port he is bound." Clarity about values and aims is essential to avoid being pushed by the tide of circumstances. When we know what we want, it becomes easy to refuse what does not align. Every conscious decision is a step toward purpose. Choice also means learning from mistakes. Rather than carrying endless remorse, we can turn failures into lessons. Each misguided decision is a teacher in disguise. The past cannot be altered, but the future can be guided by the wisdom gained. This is applied philosophy. The power of choice is always present. We can respond with anger or calm, with despair or hope, with distraction or focus. Inner freedom is born of this awareness. No matter what happens outside, we can still decide how to live. And that decision changes everything. We have reached the end of this journey. You have now encountered 8 Stoic lessons that can transform your life: the invisible shield against chaos, the power of the pause, freedom from desire, the governance of emotion, discipline of the body, the art of no, calm under pressure, and the power of choice. Each is a key, and together they open the door to genuine inner freedom. Self-control is not unreachable. It does not belong only to a few sages of the past. It is available to all of us, here and now, in every small choice, in every measured response, in every cultivated habit. To conquer yourself is the first step to conquering anything else. It is the root of strength, peace, and clarity. If you have arrived here, congratulations. It shows your commitment to your own growth. Write in the comments, "I stayed until the end." That small phrase helps us recognize your presence and inspires others to engage as well. Do not underestimate the impact of your example. If this content resonated with you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. Every gesture strengthens this community and allows us to continue bringing powerful reflections. Learning is a collective endeavor, and your participation is essential. Remember, the journey does not end here, it begins here. Each day is a new opportunity to practice, to err and correct, to strengthen your mind and refine your spirit. Stay firm, keep advancing, and we will meet in the next video. Until then, remain centered, unshakable, and in command of yourself.